Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over something called the Pythagorean Theorem, one of the most famous theorems in mathematics. And the Pythagorean Theorem really is kind of a bridge between geometry and algebra, so you need to know skills in both of those subject areas, which is one of the reasons why it's always used. So first of all, what is the Pythagorean Theorem? The Pythagorean Theorem is a formula, and let me write it out for you. It's a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And specifically, this formula works for what are called right triangles. Okay? Right triangles. Now, what makes something a right triangle? A right triangle has, see this little symbol right here? It has a squared off, if you want, corner, which is 90 degrees. Okay, so Pythagorean theorems only work with right triangles. Okay, it doesn't really make any difference what these degrees are, but everything added up totally, all the degrees inside of any kind of a triangle equal 180 degrees. And that's also true for right triangles, except that one of the angles has to be a right triangle or a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's what it is. It's a formula for finding out the sides, lengths in a right triangle. Okay? Let's go through some definitions. And actually, you know what? Now that I said a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, let's just write what that means. So the a and the b have to be the two shorter legs of this triangle. The c is the side that's opposite straight out from the 90-degree angle, okay? And it always has to be this longer leg. So it's the longest leg of any right triangle. So that's really important, all right? Some definitions. What do you need to know? Well, we already defined right triangle. That's one of the definitions. A second definition that you probably should know is a hypotenuse. Let's put that over here. Hypotenuse. And the long side is always called the hypotenuse. So it's always the C. All right, it's always the side that's opposite the 90-degree angle. So that's one of the definitions you should know. Now the A and the B are called legs. Let's just do it this way. It's always the C, and this is the A and the B. Now, some people also call the long leg, which would be this one here, whichever is the longest one, it's called the long leg, and then the short one's called the short leg. So you can have that distinction, but mostly they're known as legs, okay? So long leg and the short leg. Oh, I said short leg there. And this will be long leg here. Let me just go ahead and white that out. Okay, and it doesn't make any difference whether the long leg is A or the long leg is B, or the short leg is A or the short leg is B. They just mean the same thing. Okay, now those are the definitions. Those are the important definitions that you need to know. Let's do a sample problem. Okay, so let's say, here's my triangle. Remember, it has to be a right triangle. The hypotenuse doesn't have to be up there. It could be down lower. It doesn't make any difference. And let's say I know that this length here is 4. We don't know this length here. And let's say we know that this length up here is 8. Okay? And we want to solve for this length here, x. How could we do that? Using the Pythagorean theorem, we're going to say that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That's my first step. Second step, let's go ahead and fill in the numbers that we do know. We can call this one a, so we'll say that 4 squared plus b squared, in this case b squared is going to be the x, is equal to 8 squared, which is the c. Okay? Third step, 4 squared is 16. Now we're going to call this x. We'll just replace it with the x. And that's equal to 64. Okay? Subtract 16 from both sides. And you get x squared is equal to 64 minus 16, which is what, 48? Okay? And then here, you want to take the square root of both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to the square root of 48. Now, depending on your teacher, they will ask you to leave this answer as a radical in the simplest radical form, or you can just use your calculator and say, what is the square root of 48? Now, let me show you how to do this both ways. So, in your calculator, you go to the blue button. Here, I use the TI-84s, or no, I need the TIs. And I say the second function, so I'm going to press, by the way, you need to see where the radical is. See where the radical is right there above the x squared? So you pressed second, and then that button right there, and this is what will show up. Oh, need to turn on it first, right? Let's clear that. So again, press the second button, press the radical button down here, okay? And this is what shows up on your screen. So it looks like a blanking square root. Put in the 48, press the enter, and you get 6.93 rounded off. Okay, so x is equal to 6.93. And that would be the length of this particular side. Now, some teachers, though, don't want you to put this in decimal form. They want you to keep it in the radical form. And let me show you how I do that as well. I break this down by doing all the prime factors of 48. So I use a little number tree. Let's go over here. 48. That would be what? 2 times 24, 2 times 12, 2 times 6, 2 times 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 to the 4th, times 3. Now, remember this is a square root of 2 to the 4th. Remember how to change these to the exponential form. So you say 2 to the 4 over 2 times 3 to the 1 over 2. If you don't remember how to do this, go check one of the videos on changing radicals to exponential, to fractional exponent form. This becomes 2 squared, which is just 4. That stays a fraction, so it goes back underneath. And you get the square root of 3, okay? So the answer would be 4 radical 3, or 6.93. Okay, I hope that was helpful.